Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashapya Nishatadine Namaste Saraswati Deve Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. श्री राम संकीर्तन की राम विष्णु पाद ब्रह्म से परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टवत अष्टतर श्री श्री इस डिवाइन के भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद जी महाराज की ओम विष्णु पाद ब्रह्म से परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टवत अष्टतर श्री श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर प्रेम से गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे गौरश्वर संबंधी ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुषुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. So I hope you are having a very nice sangha. It's called association. You have a very nice association. Of devotees of the Dham. How many of you attended the Mangal Aarti today? Very good. Every day since you are here? Huh? Very good. I really appreciate that you are able to having such a tight schedule, but still you are able to go for the Mangal Aarti and attend the Guru Puja, doing the Japa also. You have a morning Japa class also? This is a completely different experience. Those who come for the first time, from here where you took bath, Ganga actually crosses from here, crosses Calcutta and then goes to Ganga Sagar and crosses Calcutta and reaches Ganga Sagar, where actually Ganga meets with the Bay of Bengal. And it is said that Ganga could go directly through a stream from upper end, but it said Ganga takes a special turn, again a U-turn, and again curves inside here, because it wanted the association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees. So that is why it's very special here. Holy name purifies you, and Ganga also purifies one. So whatever sins you have done in so many lifetimes was washed away yesterday. But there is one challenge here. Then if you are very careful of not performing any more sins, then fine. But if you are not careful, then it becomes, sin. It's called cube, no? 3 square and cube. Sin becomes cube, sin's cube. 3 times you get. The struggle of it, not the karma, but the struggle. So in the Bhagavatam, one very nice section is there, wherein there is a elaborate description. Sukadev Goswami, all of you know, Sukadev Goswami actually speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam to whom? Parikshit Maharaj. Sukadev Goswami is narrating the whole Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So, in the 5th canto, there is a description of hellish planet. Have you read that? Very elaborate descriptions is there about the hellish planet. Because from our childhood, Hindu children, we know that नर्क में जाना पड़ेगा, नर्क में जाएंगे. Now I think people don't need to go to the hell, it's here only. But there is description, and the description from Puranic stories, it comes to us. Like I remember when we were child, so there would be some, they say no, Puranic stories are there, and there are stories of grandmother also. Grandmother stories means no praman. There is no evidence, but it is true, because it is coming from the words. Like that story is also there. So as a child we would actually hear from our grandparents that my grandfather used to actually tell, hey, don't do this, then you in the hell you will be boiled. So in the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami narrates, there are many chapters actually, narrating the whole description of the hell, how there are many hellish planetary systems. And then he gets into the details of each. And there comes a description of hell where the humans are punished. The living entity in one way is punished for its sinful activities. Have you seen the Bhagavad Gita? Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita has photos. In one of those photos, have you seen that the hellish planet is visualized? Have you seen that? Have you seen? When I was a young boy, when I saw the Gitas, because as a child you don't read, you see with the photos, right? You like the photos more than reading. So when I was seeing those photos, when I saw this, it's like, my God. Because we only hear about him, we never have visualized it, we never visualized it. So the first time when I saw it, I was like scared. I was very scared. Scared in the sense that it is very reddish. When man is been forced to embrace an iron form of a woman, an iron form of a woman, Yamaduta says, tying him on a rope and tightly pushing his bum to embrace a iron form of a woman, and he is crying, he doesn't want to do that. And then other place, one cow or a goat is eating the human who ate him. Then there's a photo of one man, being boiled. He's being boiled in oil, you know. So like this he describes, and there are, and in the Bhagavatam it also mentions that you have a very special, privileged body in the hell. If you were to be punished, that dogs have to bite you, so you will have such a body that you will be put into a room with a pack of dogs, wild dogs, and they will jump on you and start tearing you into pieces. And the privilege of the body will be that you will not die, and you can see that this flesh is being removed out of your body, and then in front of you the dogs are fighting to eat that flesh, and once they are done with that, they look at you again and they want to jump on you and take flesh again out. So like that description is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam mentions that when Parikshit Maharaj, he heard this description of the hell, he was very concerned and very depressed also. He was very concerned because he could see that people in this material world, everyone has a sinful life. There is very rarely a person who doesn't end up committing a sin. By mistake, killing an ant is also a sin, It's that even if you done it by mistake, one devotee asked a question to Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, if unknowingly if some sins are done, then what is the blame of the person who has done the sin? Prabhupada said that doesn't matter, laws of nature, they will act. It's just like you see, electric wire is there. Suppose a child goes and touches the wire is not going to think that, arey, he's a baby, innocent, I should not give him a shock. Will the wire think like this? Or the button will put off automatically? No. A child will get. Similarly, he said laws of nature, Prabhupada mentioned. So when Sukadev, Parikshit Maharaj heard this description, and he was very concerned that, arey, in that way too, everyone will end up going to hell. And he had a great pain in his heart, visualizing that, arey, there is no hope. People in this material world are somehow or other entangled in such a way they will end up doing some sin and they will go to hell and suffer. And now, Parikshit Maharaj is a devotee, a pure devotee of Krishna. He has heard the description of the suffering in the hell. He has heard the description of the suffering in the hell. So he tells Sukadeva Goswami with great pain that, my dear Lord, in that way, all the people of this world, they will all have to go to hell, because knowingly or unknowingly everyone is into some activity where he will end up doing some sin. What is the hope for the people? And then Sukadeva Goswami mentions that, he gives a very nice explanation. He says that is why it is a duty of every human being that before he dies, he does yajna, puja, karmakanda, to get rid of all his sins. By the end of his life, one should do atonement. You understand? Atonement. Atonement towards one's own sins. That is very compulsory. If one who doesn't do, then the destination is unpredictable and suffering is unlimited. And then Sukadeva Goswami further says, but the problem in this material world is far beyond just atonement. He said one may do an atonement and may get rid of the sin, but still, because he is going to be in the material world. You understand the meaning of material world now? At least living in Mayapur and just having a reflection of what you live in wherever you are, the kind of life, the kind of people we live around, and the kind of life we have in the holy pure place like Mayapur. You can easily discriminate what is hell and what is heaven, what is material life and material world, and what is spiritual life and spiritual world. All of you are having a glimpse of it or not? Isn't it? So, Sukadeva Goswami was mentioning that since the living entity in the material world, it is bound, even after atoning for its sin, again he will get a body. Right? And in that body, again he will perform sins. Correct? And he explains very nicely that though one may atone his sins, but the deep-rooted desire to enjoy, desire for sense gratification is very deeply rooted. And until that root is uprooted, the desire to do sin will be there. And it will again come up, and one will end up performing sin. We see this many a times, in our own lives or in devotees' lives, that there are struggles which come up. Though you come to Krishna consciousness, you are introduced to chanting, you read actually, and hear the lectures. See, all of you sitting here are definitely very intelligent, one of the most intelligent humans and the youths of the whole nation and the world. Because at least the spiritual subject matter, you had the ears, it could go into your ears and made sense. That is why you came. Second time, third time, and came for the yatra. Some spiritual sukruti, some value to spiritual path, knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, chanting seriously is there in you all. That is why you all have made it to come to this holy dham. See, it is not so easy to come to a holy place. It's not so easy. Even holy places are personified. They have their choice to reveal themselves or not. Like many people go, I have seen in a childhood, they go to a holy place. If you go with a family, it's like a picnic. Haan, ho gaya. Kaun sa next hill station aaju baju mein, You go like a picnic. Isn't it true? हाँ हो गया दर्शन हो गया, किधर है दार्जिलिंग है कि क्या उधर घूमने के लिए क्या देखो. Isn't it true? You just go like a picnic. In such a situation, the dham doesn't reveal. Only when you go in association of devotees. Only when you go in association of devotees. That is when the holy place reveals itself. You understand? That's when the holy place reveals itself. That's when the intelligence is awake to take up higher values. Higher values. Otherwise not possible. So, as I was mentioning, Sukadeva Goswami, he was describing to him that even though if one may give up, he may atone for his sin, but still the danger is there in the material world. Why? Because of the previous experience of sin and the desire to enjoy, desire to sense gratification is there deep in the heart. That is very, very difficult. Until and unless one accepts pure devotional service and surrenders unto the Supreme Lord, chants His holy name and hears the glories of the Lord, it is very, very difficult to uproot sins in the heart. It is very difficult to uproot the enjoying mentality. The enjoying mentality. The enjoying mentality. It is very, very strong because it's only and only association. It's only and only association which actually can help a person. We become like many a times we know about it, it's very difficult to apply it because we are living in the world where people are living with untruth as truth. So even if you know the truth, to have faith on the truth is very difficult. You understand? It's very difficult. It's like, if you don't have association, strong determination, then you'll just be like, malum hai, malum hai, malum. I have this favorite story, on faith. There was one village, the story, there was one village, there was no rains in the village. The sadhus told the villagers that you do invite Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas will come with Mirdanga and Kartal and they will do Sankirtan and they will do fire yagya. And when they will do fire yagya, hey, you are ahead. He knows this story, so he's already ahead. He's telling Barish aayega. So the story goes like this. So Sadhu tells them that, if you invite if you invite Vaishnavas and do yagya, and if they do Sankirtan yagya, it will rain. It will rain. So the villagers, they invite the sadhus, Vaishnavas, they do yagya, and in that village there was one devotee, old devotee, Vaishnav. So that devotee comes out of the house and with an umbrella, he goes and sits in the yagya. Or when he sits in the yagya, everyone in the village, young boys, like all of us, young boys, not me, all of you, started laughing at this young man because he came with an umbrella. And they were laughing at him, and the yagya went on, devotees were doing kirtan, ecstatic kirtan, the kirtan went on, and suddenly it started raining. And everyone ran here and there. After people running here and there, the old man opened the umbrella and stood. And then some young boys came below his umbrella also and took the shelter. Then they asked him, sir, how did you come to know it will rain today? And you bought the umbrella in advance. He said, that's very simple. The Vaishnavas have come, they are doing yagya. And if the Vaishnavas are doing yagya and Harinam is going on, it's very natural. All the problems of this world will be solved. So it's very natural that it will rain. He said, that we know. What does he say? That we, what they know? If the Vaishnavas come and do Sankirtan, what will happen? It will rain. That too we know. But how did you know that it will rain today? What did he say? How did you know that it will rain today? So this old man explained the same thing. That it is mentioned in the scriptures, when sadhus come, Vaishnavas come, when they perform Sankirtan, all the problems of the world will solve. So it is very natural, since they are there, it will rain. So that too we know, they say again. That we know. But how did you know it will rain today and you brought the umbrella? And the old man told the same story again. So what is the difference between the old man and they also know and he also know? What is the difference between both knowing? Faith. It is the faith which plays a very big role in our journey in life. It plays a very big role. What kind of faith we have? How much do we have faith in the spiritual knowledge, in the process of Krishna consciousness, in the instructions of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? How much faith do we have? So Sukadeva Goswami, he goes on telling and describing. So Parikshit Maharaj, as a pure devotee, was very disturbed, because a Vaishnava, it is said, a Vaishnava is a para dukha dukhi. Para dukha dukhi means? Yeah. He cannot see someone distressed, sad and suffering. He feels very pain in his heart. So Parikshit Maharaj is a pure devotee. He is a pure devotee, and he was feeling great pain when he heard when he heard the description of the hell. He was feeling great pain that everyone will now go to hell. So Sukadeva Goswami is describing him further, explaining that how one has to perform pure devotional service with pure faith. And I just told a story on faith. And one who performs and chants the holy name years about Krishna, Rama, Lord Narasimha Dev, his katha, and that way his heart gets purified, and the sin, the root, the roots of sinful desires are uprooted completely just by hearing. Nowadays, even hearing, people have so much tark, ऐसे कैसे हो गया, राम ने ऐसे कैसे कर दिया, कृष्ण ने ये कैसे कर दिया, ऐसे थोड़ी हो सकता है. In this world we are dealing, unfortunately, we have to, deal with this. Unfortunately, we have to deal with this, One day I was just describing one story. So one person was arguing about Ramayana. So I was telling he was arguing. So I told him one story which is generally not known to others. So when I asked him, so do you know about this? He said, नहीं ये तो नहीं पता है. बोला आपको क्या पता है फिर? I told him. He was telling that Lord Rama was crying and for Mother Sita, how is God crying, like that he was telling. I said, no, this is Leela. ऐसे कैसे पता है Leela है? I told him, I'll tell you one thing. There is one Acharya who writes, then when Lord Ramachandra was crying for Mother Sita, he was crying like a madman. All of you know, I've seen in Ramayana also. So when he was crying, he was even asking the birds and trees, if you've seen Sita, and then he embraces Lakshman and cries and falls down unconscious, that will I be able to see my Sita again, He's worse than a normal man today. Nowadays the people think wife is gone, hey Bhagwan, macha liya. So in this story, there is one more story which is generally not mentioned. Some of our Acharya writes that Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva were passing by. So Lord Shiva, he saw Lord Rama crying, and then he smiled and went. He understood that this Ram Leela is going on, Leela is to teach us. It's not that Ram is suffering. It is to show us how we suffer being attached to women. So, the Parvati feels disturbed. Arey, look at Rama. Then Lord Shiva just passes by. So Parvati dresses herself like Mother Sita and changes her form to Mother Sita, and she goes there to Lord Rama and stands in front of him, folding hands. So Lord Rama looks at her and he gives up crying. And he says, Devi, you are here, where is Lord Shiva? You are here, where is Lord Shiva? So Parvati feels very ashamed and she runs away to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva smiles. Anyways, when I told this story to one person, that's when he understood that he doesn't know Ramayana. Others people think that they know everything, They know everything. When I told him this story, do you know this story? He said, ये तो नहीं सुना है. ये तो नहीं सुना. Then he accepted. Sometimes it is so difficult to bring up people. Anyways, coming back to our pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam. Sukadeva Goswami, when he explains that one has to perform devotional service and chant the holy name, and then he tells you, let me tell you one very nice story. How a person who takes up the shelter of the holy name unknowingly, how he is benefited. And that's where the story of Ajamil comes up. After this description, Sukadeva Goswami is very eager, very happy to see Parikshit Maharaj's heart and his compassion, his love to one and all, and his feeling of, disheartedness that people in general will suffer. So it is also mentioned that when a disciple is so eager and so selfless, it also pleases the Guru, and that the Guru gives him more and more mercy. So in this section of Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj Sukadeva Goswami becomes so happy that then he narrates the story of Ajamil. So there was one great Brahmana who had a son, and his son's name is Ajamil. So very, very sincere Brahman, always following the father's instructions, always performing devotion, always doing worship, assisting his father from the very childhood in performing yajna and puja and mantra and chanting, always, very seriously. And one day, the father told Ajamil to go to the forest and get some flowers for puja. So Ajamil, following his instruction of his father, he actually goes to forest, and there he starts plucking flowers. And while he's plucking, he sees one Shudra. He's actually embracing a prostitute. So when he sees that, he immediately, first he gives a glance to it, and then he feels very disturbed about it. And then he goes away from there. But because he glanced at it, the impressions of that scene had left a very strong registration in his heart and his mind about that vision. And Ajamil goes away, takes the flowers, goes back to his father, but he was very strongly hit by the Cupid. And he was, again and again, this whole visual was coming to his mind. And from there, he could not take it out from his mind and heart, that impressions. Now, the story of Ajamil is long back, completely different yugas. But he had, at that time, to get into such a situation, Ajamil was performing his daily activity and he was sent to jungle, and suddenly he actually comes across a scene where a Shudra is embracing a prostitute, and then he kind of gets hooked into it. But today, you don't have to endeavor to go to take for flowers in the forest. The whole world is with that scene only now today, unfortunately. Everything is completely, degraded. The society, the culture, all these things completely degraded. I was mentioning on the first day also that how, from a Vedic culture point of view, association between a male and female is approached. In this section, he also mentions about how Ajamil was a very sincere brahmachari. Very, very sincere brahmachari. So, the life of a brahmacharya is so important, training of a brahmachari. Because what one learns as a brahmachari is, because as a child when he's born, if it's a boy, it's concluded that he, from the Vedic culture, from the Vedic life point of view, he is actually a brahmachari. Brahmachari means a single. For today's world, it's called like a bachelor. Like a bachelor. And then in a brahmacharya life, one is trained up. Sense control, God consciousness, japa, culture, association of sadhus and Vaishnavas. It's called samskara. What is it called? Samskara. Samskara means a child comes to in a house of a family by the prarabdha karma. By what? Prarabdha karma. Like, I look like my father. Everyone looks like their father, mother, family, right? A certain community. So, based on karma, we have a certain birth. But it is a duty of a mother and father. It is said, don't become a mother and father if you cannot deliver your child. And to deliver a child from the clutches of material world, the mother and father perform different samskaras. And these samskaras develop qualities in the child. And one of the samskaras, many of the samskaras like Anna Prakshana, Namkarana, Vidya Arambha. You know this? All of you know this? It starts from Jata Karma. It said that it is the father or the it is said the father cuts the what we call umbilical cord, right? Umbilical cord between the child and the mother. I didn't know this, but in Mayapur, for my youngest son, he was born in the house. So the Matajis who did that, they told me to cut that, And then after that, there was a name giving ceremony. In that name giving ceremony also, we invited devotees. We had a yajna, and a Vaishnava decided the name. And then after that name, he was given name, and devotees were pleased and with prasadam, and they were told to bless the child. And then after that, when the child grows for 6 months, there is an Anna Prakshana. All of you know? Anna Prakshana. Anna Prakshana means the child actually starts eating the first grain. Now it's done in the beginning of the 5th month, and in the end of the 5th month, and in the beginning of the 5th month before the 6th month starts. Anna Prakshana. Anna Prakshana means the child actually till then he is only depending upon the breast milk or some fruits or juice. He doesn't eat grains. When he starts eating grains, is actually by a sadhu or a Vaishnava guru, he actually takes, like we have, did you eat Mahaprasad sometime? So devotees will bring some Mahaprasad, some sweet rice, and then sweet rice will be kept, and then again Vaishnavas will come, there will be kirtan, and the child will be fed first some Mahaprasad by the hand of a devotee. And then all other devotees will be fed, and they will ask to bless the child. And when after that, when the child comes the age of 3 or 4, there is called Vidya Arambha Samskar. Vidya Arambha. It's not like A for apple, nothing. It doesn't start like this, Vedic culture. It doesn't start like this. Nowadays mothers are British education. A for apple, B for ball, C for cat, D for dog. Children don't learn like this. This is not Vedic culture at all. This is Shudra culture. Vedic culture means the child, there will be again Guru or Vaishnava will be invited, and there will be, what we call yajna. And then after that, they will take a nice plate or a vessel or something, or on the floor, they'll put some sand or turmeric powder or kumkum powder, and then there will be a peacock feather, like a pen. And then with the hand of a very senior Vaishnava, the child's hand will be taken, and then he will write first, Krishna. I did for all my children this. Rama. That is called Vidyarambha Samskar. And like this, then he slowly accepts a guru, becomes a Brahma, accepts the brahmacharya ashram. Why all these things are done, so that the child doesn't fall into sinful activities. He takes the benefit of the human form and perfects and leaves the material world, goes back to the spiritual world, never comes back to suffer. That is the goal of being a parent. You understand my point? That is the goal of being a parent. That I am suffering in this material world, but my child should not. Should go back home, back to Godhead. Today, if you tell your parents this, unfortunately today's society, if you tell that I want to do all these things and Krishna will maintain me, हंगामा हो जाएगा पूरा घर में, पूरा community में, कौन इसको पागल कर दिया पता ही नहीं. Some people to even find out if there's some black magic is done on my son. If a child takes up Krishna consciousness seriously, the mother and father become insecure and they try to find out if some black magic is done on my son or what. That is the situation today. So I was just telling samskaras, So I was telling the brahmachari, then after this, actually after all these things, the child only eats prasadam rest of his life. So his mind is very pure. Then that child is introduced to smoking, if he is introduced to pornography, if he is introduced to boyfriend and girlfriend culture, he will not feel comfortable. He will not feel happy. He may even try it by mistake, but he will not be satisfied. Because that taste is lower. It's sinful. Understood? If you give someone, rasgulla, and suddenly you tell him that here is a Karela, eat that. He will never be satisfied. Will he be? Never. After eating rasgulla, will you be satisfied with Karela? Suppose we give you fish every day that is sweet, and from tomorrow onwards, sweet means Karela dipped in sugar candy. sugar syrup. Will you eat? No matter what happens, you will not accept it. Similarly, these Vedic samskaras, they make children so strong that no matter what happens, even if they're in that situation, they will never accept it. That's called saving. So he was telling that Ajamil actually was a very sincere child in that way. And then he grew up. So as I said, he grew up and he fell into this, and then he got married. After marriage also, those impressions were there in his mind. You can imagine how strong impression, bad association can create in our heart and mind. Isn't it true? Just difficult to give it up. Completely difficult to give it up. So Jamil grew up, and then after his father left this world, Ajamil's father left this world, and then Ajamil was to take care of his family. He employed that prostitute as his maid servant in the house. He employed that prostitute as a maid servant in his house. And after some time, he left the wife and started living only with this prostitute. He was so attached to her that he gave a very beautiful Brahmin life and started living with this prostitute. Produced 10 children out of this prostitute. Produced 12 children out of this prostitute. Then, as the children were growing, that last child of his, the 10th child, he named him as Narayan. Now there Bhagavatam very beautifully describes that how he was so attached to this son Narayan, and for anything and everything he would call out only Narayan. Just Narayan, always. Narayan, bring me water. Narayan. If he's not visible to him for a long time, Narayan, where are you? Narayan, give me my food. Narayan, get my clothes. Narayan, where is my fruits? Like that, he would be very immersed in just as his youngest son, because he was so attached to this son. Very, very attached to this son. And it so happened that he got old. As time passed by, he got old. And he was very close to death. On his deathbed, because he has done so much sinful activities. 3 very dangerous personalities arrived. Very dangerous. In the Bhagavatam, so there is photo also. Have you seen that? There are 3 Yamudutas with a dog and a rope. Have you seen that? In Jew temple, if you've seen in Jew, there is a diorama. In my childhood, I used to pass by from that, look and pray to it very nicely. Pray to the Vishnu Dutas very nicely and go chip chap. I didn't know what it is. I would read and not understand also. I was so scared of the Yamadutas, and the only thing what I understood that if I pray to them, I'll be saved like this. So because I have been going to Jew temple from 1987, 86, right from my birth actually. So that diorama is since the beginning. So whenever how many of you seen that diorama in Jew? So that diorama, if you see, the danger is Yamadutas. Their eyes are out, hairs are like this, red eyes, and they are wearing that, deadly frock. I don't know what frock it is, that deadly frock they are wearing. I remember it because from the childhood I have seen it. Very detailed I remember. And then one guy is having a rope, it is thrown into the hand of Ajamil, and they are pulling out the soul, dragging it to the hell, So exactly what is there in that scene is exactly what Ajamil saw. Exactly that is what he saw. When they were dragging him, and then because he was so attached to his son, and because he always chanted his son's name, which is Narayan. So when this saint came in his life, he loudly called out, Narayan, 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 like this, for his son. When he called out like this, immediately it is said that 4 beautiful personalities, they manifested there. 4 beautiful personalities, they manifested there. And when these personalities manifested, even the Yamadutas were shocked, because they looked so beautiful, with Shankha, Padma, Gada, Chakra in their hands, with a lotus in their hand. Very celestial personalities, beautiful, blue color body, so much of jewelries, shining, fragrance around their body. And this Yamadutas was shocked. He said, "Who are you people?" And then there's a big description between the Yamadutas and discussion actually. There's a discussion between the Yamadutas and Vishnudutas. These were Vishnudutas actually. There's a big discussion. They said that no. He said, first to that they were very surprised to see these beautiful personalities. And they asked them, "Who are you people? Are you coming from heaven? And why have you come here?" And this Yamadutas, they explained that we have come here to take this sinful person. And Vishnudutas, they said that no, you cannot take him. He said, "What are you saying? Why are you interfering in our duties? This man has done so much sins in his whole life that he's supposed to go to the king of Yamaloka, Yamaraj, whose assistant Chitragupta has all his, what we call, list of sins. His list of sins, and he has to atone for. His son has to be punished for his sins. That is why we have to take him there." And then Vishnudutta said, "No, you cannot take him. He has taken the shelter." Long discussion, but he says that he has taken the shelter of the name of the Supreme Lord. Just by calling out the name of the Supreme Lord, he has eradicated all the sins which he has performed. But the Yamadutas were not convinced at all. Not convinced at all. And what had Ajamil done? Ajamil did not do anything. He was overly attached to his son and named the son as Narayan. And he was just calling out his son always. Narayan, 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 Narayan. So Yamadutas gets very disturbed. And then the further story goes that how they go to Yamaraj and they were very disturbed that, "My Lord, you are actually the king. You are the Supreme Lord. You are the Supreme Lord. How is it that these people could come and disturb us in our duty to serve you, to get sinful people to you? How is it that these people could come and disturb us?" And then Yamaraj actually tells them, "Arey Baba, you foolish people, you don't know. I am your master and he is my master, Vishnu. And these are his servants. My jurisdiction is within his jurisdiction. I am his servant. On his behalf I am doing this duty." This way, Yamadutas are preached by Yamaraj. Yamadutas are preached by Yamaraj. Now, the discussion between Yamadutas and Yamaraj, while it was going on, who heard the whole thing? Ajamil. He's sitting there, his hands are tied up, his soul is tied up and being dragged, and he's listening to this whole discussion. And then he understands what he has actually done in his life. There's one very nice thing to know, to learn also. That of course, I'm mentioning that how difficult the material world is and how everywhere it is sinful. When you hear the story of Ajamil, you understand that it was in a different era, different yuga. Circumstances were different. Social media and technology was not there. Smartphone and internet was not there. Even there that can happen. So what to speak of? What to speak of? Now. What to speak of now? But when Ajamal heard, but in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned how the Lord is very merciful. It is said, it is mentioned that when Ajamil was a small boy, he used to assist his father in performing service, right? So he used to very sincerely worship the Narayan Shila. Shila means, it's called Shaligram. All of you know Shaligram? If you have no, you can see Shaligram right below the lotus feet of Lord Narasimhadev. And when you take darshan, there is all Shaligram there. Shaligram is not different than the Supreme Lord. And they worship as Lord. So, Ajamil's father used to worship Narayan Shila, and Ajamil used to, with great devotion, perform Abhishek, offer bhoga, and bring flowers for this Narayan Shila. So when Ajamil got into this whole situation, where he was very strongly influenced by this vision of a prostitute being enjoyed by a Shudra, and then he got into this hell sinful process of getting married to a prostitute, living with her, producing children out of a prostitute. It is said that when he was giving name, his son, the youngest son, Lord within his heart inspired Ajamil to name this son as Narayana. The Lord within the heart inspired Ajamil to name this son as Narayana. So don't be worried when I'm scaring you about the story. The Lord is very merciful. His holy name is merciful. The Lord put him in a situation to take the shelter of the holy name in one way, to protect him. So that is the benefit of being in association, performing devotional service. You will never have the risk to defeat the purpose of human life. And always taking the shelter of the holy name. And especially being in Kali Yuga, there is no problem. In Kali Yuga, you have to only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Just chant the holy name, be in association of devotees, and you will perfect. Holy name is so merciful. And the one who takes the holy name, the Lord is so merciful to him. The Lord is so merciful to him. There is one very nice story in regard to the holy name. There are many stories actually. There's one story. There was one person. He was a businessman. He was a Vaishya, very busy Vaishya. And all the sadhus, his family members, everyone used to tell him that you should chant the name of Lord Rama. You should chant the name of Lord Krishna. He used to say, I'm too busy. When I get up, I have to make sure the money which I left in the night is there or not. I have to count them again. Before sleeping, I make sure what I earned in the whole day is exactly matching with what is the bills or not. So I'm so much in anxiety, and throughout the day, in the middle of the day, I have to make sure I have to procure all the material for my shop and for my business. And if I don't do all these things, how? So one who doesn't want to perform devotion, he has several reasons to not to do it. Several reasons to not to do it. So this man, this Vaishya was very busy in this, not agree. So one day when sadhu told him that you should chant, he said, no time. I said, at least you chant when you are eating in your mind. He said, no. If I don't eat properly, I will not be able to digest. I have to concentrate on eating. I will not have good digestion then. He said, okay, fine, forget about everything. At least you chant when you are in the bathroom. There though nothing is there, no? There you don't have money to count. He thought that, अरे ये तो पीछे पड़ गया है. इसे ठीक है, वो तो कर दूंगा, बाथरूम में कर लूँगा इसके. So he starts chanting, Shri Ram, Ram Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, while taking bath, putting the soap, nicely takes bath in the bathroom. So it so happened, Hanuman was traveling, and he heard, Are, who is this person chanting my Lord's name every day and with so much enthusiasm, So Hanuman entered that house. And when Hanuman entered, he went to the temple. He saw, अरे temple में तो कुछ भी नहीं है, कोई भी नहीं chanting कर रहा है. Then he saw in the house, and there's nobody in the house also chanting. Then finally he just followed the voice. When he followed the voice, it reached to the bathroom. And Hanuman felt so offended that this fellow is chanting in the main of not there. He opened the door and gave one tight slap to that fellow and went away from there. Went away from there. Now, after this disgusting, Hanuman flies away from there and he goes to Lord Rama. That's the beauty. He goes to Lord Rama. And when he goes to Lord Rama, he sees Lord Ramchandra holding his hand like this. He said, my Lord, what happened? He removes the hat, there are 3 fingers. He said, my Lord, what happened to you? So Lord Rama says, I don't know. One devotee of mine was very sincerely calling me out by chanting my name. Someone came to disturb him, and I just took that slap to me so he doesn't get disturbed. That is the mercy of the Lord if you take the shelter of the holy name. If you let's take the shelter of the holy name. So merciful. There's one more very nice story of Akbar and Birbal. Akbar, the king. Birbal, there are many Puranic stories about them, spiritual messages. So Birbal was a great devotee of Lord Rama. He also was a great devotee of Lord Rama. So one day, Akbar and Birbal, they go deep into the jungle for hunting. And they lost the way back. And they were so deep inside, they lost the way back, and it was difficult for them to come back. So then what to do? We will have to stay nearby, somewhere in the village or in the jungle. There are wild animals here. So somehow they managed to arrange one place below a tree or above the tree, and they sleep whole night there. Next day morning, Birbal gets up, and as his regular duty, he offers prayers to the Lord and starts chanting. And Akbar, the king, gets freaked out. I said, this is fanatic. Arey, we are supposed to go back. And we don't have even food. So the Akbar loses all hopes on Birbal. And then he goes to nearby village, because now it's daylight. Light is out. So he goes to nearby village, and Birbal is continuously chanting, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. He goes and chanting. And Akbar goes into the village, and then he finds one person who recognizes him. And then the person, actually the villager, a small village, 2-3 houses only. They feed him very nicely food. And then Akbar thinks, this foolish Birbal is chanting there. I don't know what he will eat. Let me pack something for him and take for him also. So then Akbar carries something and gives. After Birbal is completed his japa, he gives it to Birbal. He said, "Lo bhai, Ram to aaye nahi, ye lo kha lo ye. Tumhara to koi ठिकाना nahi hai. There is no hopes, and I take a word that I will never travel alone with you, and gives. Then Birbal completes his japa, opens his eyes, and then sees nice fruits and some preparations. And then after that, closes his eyes and prays to the Lord. Oh my dear Lord, you are so merciful. I just kept on taking the shelter of your holy name, and today you engaged the king to get breakfast for me. Oh my Lord, you are so kind that you have engaged the king to get breakfast me. I am so unqualified. I am not worth it. But just because I took the shelter of your holy name, today what you did, you engaged the king to get my breakfast. And Birbal was shocked. First he was irritated, and then shocked. In the heart he was happy. In the heart he was very happy that I have such a minister